Hey guys, Quick Draw McGraw here. So, for this episode, I got a question for you. Think back to the worst relationship that you were in, girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, whatever it was. And here's the uncomfortable question I want to ask you. Did they become the worst person during the relationship? Or did you see bright flags that were going off and choose to ignore them anyways in that whole period in which you started to meet them? That's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about Elektra and Daredevil. So this is a continuation on our episode that we did on Elektra, which was episode number 8. So please go back and watch that episode. I did a painting that I did of Jennifer Garner as Elektra. I'm going to go ahead and flash that up just so you can see it. It was a pretty cool painting, I thought. So this one, we're diving into Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, and his this sort of like this toxic magnetic bond that he has with Elektra. And so, for those of you that don't know Matt Murdock, he's a devout Christian lawyer. He's Catholic, and he basically generally wants to do good. Um, he wants to protect the innocent, and he wants to live by faith, even when it costs him basically everything. And so he's one of the most outspoken Christian characters that are in comics today. So it's interesting, Elektra and Matt, they meet in college, and there's that whole Matt and her, they fell in love and all this other stuff. And then she decides, after her father is assassinated, she decides to really kind of go down a dark path. So obviously, again, she turns into being an assassin, and then she is really a walking sort of temptation. Matt, and she also understands Matt though on a level that almost no one can, and she sees the side of him that craves the thrill of being Daredevil. So, why does a man who is dedicated to God keep returning to a woman who basically pulls him into darkness? And so I wanted to get into this because I think a lot of us today, we've been in bad relationships, we're in bad relationships. And I've talked about this before with comics, is that all these comic book characters and these stories and everything else, they actually have a lot. These characters, there's a lot that we can learn from them, and they go through the same things that we do. So I was really kind of thinking about this, and it's something that I think that, given over half the marriages end in divorce and people are unhappy in relationships, is there something that we can learn from this? And so I kind of had some epiphanies on this. But one of the major ones is this kind of this graphic that I'm going to show you like right now. And it really comes down to this lethal mix of psychological blind spots and a lack of spiritual discernment. Okay, now especially if you're taking Matt's viewpoint on this from a religious kind of Christian faith, right? And so, why do people get into these relationships, right? So it comes down to certain things like loneliness, it's cognitive bias, and honestly, it's raw human attraction between the two. And what can happen then is it can convince us to ignore these bright, blazing red flags, right? Because that you feel in your gut that we know that are there. And so, from a spiritual perspective, it really forces us to question, are we seeking what we want as human beings, or are we actively seeking God's guidance for our lives? Okay, so are we asking the question, God, is this what you want, versus acting upon our own interests? And the thing is, with prayer and biblical wisdom, they aren't just abstract concepts. They're basically practical tools that are designed to guard our hearts and inform when to stay and when to walk away. And that's the problem with Matt, is that he doesn't know when to walk away. He's still attracted to Elektra, and although in the story she does get, for lack of a, but not really saved, but he loosens her or frees her from the captivity of her anger and everything else, and so she's able to move on with her life, which is awesome at the end of the story with her. But during the process, and a lot of people in their relationships, it's just breaking that apart, getting away. So it's very difficult. And so, but this is really the tragedy of Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. And this happens with a lot of people, right? Is that his faith, it calls him towards redemption, forgiveness, and discipline. But going back to Elektra, doesn't make him evil. It actually makes him very human. So although he's sort of a superhero, really nice guy, lawyer, all this and that, he does that. So, and really what happens with this is Matt's real battle is the constant war between his heart, his desires, and his faith. And so for a man, actually, he doesn't have, he's actually blind. I mean, it's not funny, but um, he spends a lot of his time in his life really searching the right path in his relationships and really fighting for the courage to walk it the right way. And so, and what's interesting is that is just like the rest of us. So I don't know. I was just kind of looking. I was thinking more about just human dynamics and relationships and love and all this and that, like we talk about on this channel. And the one that I found to be the most complex was this thing with Daredevil and Elektra. And then I just kind of wanted to expound upon the Elektra episode that we did, because imagine being with a uh, an assassin. You're having a relationship with an assassin. Probably like the worst thing in the world. But anyways, so there you go. Just kind of a weird little episode. Something I put together for you. If you like it, let me know. Like, subscribe, put comments in. I'm just trying different angles on this. This was an angle on psychology, so hopefully you thought it was interesting. But check out the other episodes. Definitely check out the episode that I did on Elektra, and I will check you later. Bye.